when I was 5 years old, I was in this marathon at my school. And I remember whoever won the race got tickets to Disneyland. Like I mentioned, it was in California. And I remember like going around. At first it was cool because all my friends was doing it. And then my friends was just dropping off, like they was getting tired. You know, you get a cramp in your side, you want to stop. And I remember my dad kept on pushing me. He was like, let's keep going, we got to keep going. I'm like, Dad, like I'm almost in tears, my side hurts. I just remember that I wanted to quit and he would not let me quit. And I really, really, really want to thank him to this day, because that's kind of who I am to this day. Like I refuse to quit. And that definitely has spilled over into my relationship with my son and with my daughters as well. I grew up uptown New Orleans. I lived all over New Orleans. I lived on the West Bank, I lived in the East. And I just remember, and once again, going back to my father, he worked a lot, right? But I remember my dad being everybody's dad. He was the only dad on the block. So for me, I just seen the difference. Like a lot of times, I look back at a lot of the guys that I grew up with, and a lot of those guys, unfortunately, you know, fell to statistics, in jail, some dead, and some are doing well as well, don't get me wrong. But that was the biggest difference, I think, is a lot of guys, it was exposure, you know, what they was exposed to, but also the fact that, you know, they didn't have somebody pointing them in the right direction. Your father is that strength in your life. Your father is that person that encourages you. Your father is the person that shows you by example, not just by what he says. He gets up every single day and goes to work. So you know, a lot of us follow the footsteps of our father. I'm in sales, I'm in corporate sales. My dad did sales his whole life. So I think it's just important because it's setting an example. To boil it all down, at the end of the day, I think kids, they follow our lead, and it's up to us to show them in the right direction. So sometimes I can be seen as a tough dad, but I get that from my father. And I believe in tough love, but I believe in, to me, that is real love, because it helped push me to my limits. It pushed me to realize that like sky is truly the limit, and I just want my kids to believe the same thing. You want your kids to have everything that they're supposed to have in life, and that's kind of where I get that mentality from, and I definitely get that from my dad. I go on daddy dates with my daughters. I learned that from a friend of mine that I've just really just admired his relationship with his daughter, and I admired her as well, and just how much of a outstanding young lady she was. So one of the things that he told me is that he brought his daughter on daddy dates. So when they were living here, we did this every single Friday. And at first, because my daughters are 7 and 10, so they're pretty close in age, so I used to bring them both together. And then as they got older, of course, they wanted their own time. So now every single time that I have them for a extended amount of time, they look forward to daddy dates. If we're in New Orleans or if we're here, and it's just time for them to just talk to me, open up, tell me anything that's going on. I make sure that they understand how beautiful they are, and I also show them how a man should treat them. And that's, I think, for me, probably the biggest part of the daddy date is just to set that bar extremely high.